So RFK Jr. gave this update. There was a newly released study that came out that showed the recent skyrocketing autism rates in America. And every time they do these studies, it is increase on increase on increase. And I want to play some of his autism rate update today in his press conference. Watch.
I'm going to go over some of the key numbers from the ADDM report. Overall, the autism is increasing in prevalence at an alarming rate. The study tests 8-year-olds who were born in 2014. And by the way, these studies are 2 years later than they should be. And one of the things that we're going to do as we move this function to the Administration for a Healthy America, to the Chronic Disease Division, the new Chronic Disease Division, is we are going to have updated real-time data so that people can look at this, so Americans can understand what is happening with chronic disease in this country in real time. The ASD prevalence rate in 8-year-olds is now 1 in 31. Shocking. There's an extreme risk for boys. Overall, the risk for boys of getting an autism diagnosis in this country is now 1 in 20. And as high in California, which has the best data collection. So it probably also reflects the national trend, 1 in 12.5 boys. The prevalence 2 years ago was 1 in 36. Since the first ADDM report in 1990, which was 1992 births, autism has increased by a factor of 4.8. That's 480%, I believe. The first ADDM survey was 22 years ago when prevalence was 1 in 150 children. In all the core states, the trend is consistently upward, and most cases now are severe. So about 25% of the kids who are diagnosed with autism are nonverbal, non-toilet trained, and have other stereotypical features, head banging, tactile and light sensitivities, stimming, toe walking, etc.
I mean, this is a crisis of epic proportions that no one within the government and certainly HHS has been willing to actually look at. And now you have RFK giving this update. I would just like to, I'm just going to throw this out here, okay? I'm not here to determine what the cause is, and I appreciate that they are looking at a lot of different things. He said that they're looking at environmental toxins. It could be something like mold, pesticides, food chemicals, medicines, potentially ultrasound scans. I mean, they are trying to look at everything. I would just like to point out, as he mentioned, it's 1 in 20 boys nationwide, but 1 in 12.5 in boys in California. And I would just like to point out that California is one of the, if not the strictest vaccination state in the country. They offer 0 exemptions for children going through schools who, for personal beliefs, for religion, and even their medical exemptions, which is the only one that they offer, are very, very, very strict. And all of the doctors in California are scared to give them a medical exemption because they feel like if they do, they're going to be investigated and have their licenses revoked. So I'm not saying I know the cause, but I just do think that it's an important point when you talk about this. Why is California so much higher? I don't know, but maybe we should look at whether or not there's a correlation there. Oh, wait, the science is settled. We don't know what the cause is, but we definitely know it's not that. Move on. I'm not so sure. Am I crazy? He would have thought I was crazy probably 5 years ago. Do you think I'm crazy now?
No, not now. I don't want to give you more credit than I need to during this segment. But,
no, you should give me a lot of credit. Go ahead. Come on. Keep going. I'll take it.
I will say that I did not think this way before we did a couple of specials, one on COVID and another one on food. And I was just blown away by how the actual system works. Now, the system works. The people that would push back on this which now seems utterly ridiculous to me. But the people that would push back on this, they would say, look, this is science. Like this is the studies now just are better at detecting autism. So they're finding more cases. I'm sorry, but 480% increase? No.
Exactly. That's his point.
That is insane. Yeah. So either science has changed from like the Middle Ages all the way up until now in a span of a couple decades, or we need to have some changes. At least do a full stop on what is actually happening. That's how serious this sounds. If you look at other statistics, if you look at birth rates, if you look at life expectancy, and you just compare like the United States to other countries that we consider are less developed than we are, like we're so much, mightier and more intelligent than some of these other countries, but they're living to 90 years old and going up, and we're going down to scary levels. Something's happening. And this is not a partisan thing, right? Like everyone should support this. Right. If you're not right now standing on a soapbox across the political spectrum and saying, oh my God, these numbers, we have got to take a step back, whether that's halting the new stuff we're approving, whether that's in the Food and Drug Administration or all the different foods, everything. If you're not saying just stop everything and let's figure out what's happening, that's just pure evil in my mind. Pure evil.
Yeah. I will say this: a lot of Americans don't leave the country, but when you do leave the country and you eat food in other places, you realize our food is trash. Right? There's something in our food.
It's actual poison.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. For example, I have lactose issues, right? But I can go to another country and take in most cheeses, most milks, and not have any sort of problem. Same thing with breads, and things of that nature.
Really?
Here, my stomach is sensitive as all hell. I've been to Austria. I've bounced all over Europe into like 11, 12 countries throughout Europe, including Turkey. I eat their food, no problem. No problem whatsoever.
If that's not the first time I've heard a mutual friend of ours, who I don't know if she wants her name shared, so I'll tell you off air, but they went to Europe and she cannot have gluten here, or she can't have bread. She said, like, I ate my weight in bread. It had gluten, it had all, and I was completely fine. In fact, she lost weight when she was there and they were just stuffing their faces the entire time in Italy, because all of their foods are just like down to the basic components of the grain are just completely different. Right. Completely different.
And the EU is actually very strict when it comes to food production and chemicals and was it GMOs put into
and artificial dyes.
Artificial dyes. Yeah. They're very strict on that.
So I know we've said this before, but for those that haven't heard it, this is what completely changed my mind on just the food stuff. Because normally I was like, I want to eat my Flamin' Hot Cheetos, bro. Sure. Like don't take those away. But I don't know how the system works over in Europe. But here, if I'm at a company that makes some kind of Cheetos, and I want it to look and taste and have that certain crunch, but I have to put on all these chemicals, I go to the FDA and I say, look, I want it to look this way. The FDA says, no problem. Produce it. We're not going to do the study. You have to commission your own study. So it's on the people that want to sell the product. It's on them to do the science. Do you think after they've wasted over who knows how many millions or billions of dollars getting ready to market this and push it out and make it, that they're going to have anything but glowing results from this study?
Of course not.
So then it doesn't matter. So then they hand it to the FDA and the FDA goes, cool, bro. Yeah. That's great. Thanks for doing our work for us. Oh, but now for every batch of those Cheetos that you make, you have to pay us a fee per batch for us to put our signature and our little stamp of approval on it. So it's a huge bribe to the government, to the regulators to put that out. Does that not sound like the biggest, croniest piece of bullshit you've ever heard in your life?
I know.
That's insane.
I know. That's what I've been trying to tell everybody.
And then 480% increase in autism. And you wonder why.
If you like this clip and you want to see the full episode, click here. And if you want to subscribe to the channel, come on, you know you do. Click here.